Good morning everyone. Today I'm gonna building a skyscraper. This build is gonna be part of a series that I'm planning to do. If you guys enjoyed this, then make sure to leave a like on this video so that I know to continue the series. Now that I put that to the side, we jump straight into the building. So for this build, I use glass to make up the majority of the walls of the tower, and right now I'm working on the front side of the building. I didn't want to make it too bland looking or too, boring. So I made up some changes to the glass, some interesting shapes so that there's a little bit of interesting, aspect to it. So here I leave a little gap for like the entrance. And for the rest of the side, I just fill it in with glass. Now you're gonna notice in this video that it's mostly just me placing down glass or a lot of glass blocks, and it might get a little boring. So you can leave comments down below as to what I should add to the buildings or what I should do to make it more interesting or just make better content. Now here I finally stop using glass blocks and I move on to iron blocks. Now iron blocks are gonna be the second most used block in this build. I just use it to fill up any of the gaps that I didn't fill in with the glass. Okay, I did not consider this when I was building the tower, but now that I'm looking at the video again, I'm thinking that it's gonna be a little unstable or dangerous to have iron blocks sitting on top of a thin sheet of glass. I feel like a lot of the builds, now that I think about it, that I'd make are not, architecturally realistic. But I think that's one of the best parts of Minecraft. You don't have to be realistic, you can just let your imagination run wild. Okay, now I'm done with the front side of the building and I move on to the side of it. And for here, on this side, I just use half iron blocks and half glass blocks. Okay, to keep things different, I decided not to use all glass blocks on the side and use a little bit more of iron blocks so that there's some differentiation between the different sides of the building. And again, I make a very architecturally unrealistic design, but then again, it's Minecraft. That's why I play it. So here I was planning on making like a little cross or plus sign to fill in with the glass, and I thought it would make it a little cool. But then I realized that it didn't turn out the way I wanted to, so I gave up and just filled it up with iron blocks. Okay, I'm nearly done with this side of the building. All I'm gonna do is make an iron pillar and then I'm gonna move on to the back side. Now that I'm on the back side, I just repeat the same design I did on the front side. I was always interested in cities and building towers and skyscrapers, which is what gave me the inspiration to do this build. And I was hoping to make it in series so that I can build a giant city. Even when I was a kid, I used to play games like SimCity Builder and other city building games. I also used to enjoy planning out and constructing huge cities which I can just look back on and admire my work. I used to enjoy building towers so much that I wanted to become an architect when I grew up. In 4th grade, we had a little what do you want to be when you grew up book young authors thing. I don't know if you guys had that when you were in elementary school, but I did. And our topic was, jobs and stuff. And I wrote down that I wanted to be an architect. And it was kind of strange, or not really. Well, it wasn't really strange, but my parents always wanted me to become a doctor or a lawyer, stereotypical Asian jobs. But I was always interested in becoming an architect because I just love designing stuff. I still do now, but right now I feel like maybe getting a medical degree when I go into university might be better. Or who knows, maybe I'll change my mind once I go into different fields or explore different things. Okay, we are done with the back side and now we move on to the other side. Now on this side I just fill it in completely with iron blocks. Okay, now I'm done with all sides of the building and I move on to the roof. For the roof I just fill it in with iron blocks because for skyscrapers I feel like the roof, it doesn't really matter aesthetically speaking. Okay, here I use black concrete to make a little overlay on the building. You'll see once I start to actually build it. But I got this idea from 4th grade. Here we go back to 4th grade. And in the library, I picked up a book on how to build stuff in Minecraft. Because, I was interested in building stuff. And in one of the pages, it showed how to build a skyscraper. And it also showed that I had this black overlay like I'm building right now. That's where I got the inspiration from. It's crazy to think where you get inspiration from. You can get it from the most unexpected places ever. Like back in 4th grade, I didn't have Minecraft then. I only got it a few months ago. And years later, I'm using this to build a building that I'm gonna put on YouTube. Okay, now that I'm done with the overall shell of the building, I'm moving on to the interior. I don't do much in the interior. I'm not gonna do much in any of the interiors of any of the buildings that I'm gonna do in this series, unless you guys want me to. But for mostly, I just clear out the ground and put in wood planks to act as a floor and maybe 2 doors for an entrance. So in the case of this building, I use dark oak planks and I'm pretty sure I use regular wooden doors. No, I use iron doors for the entrance. I get grass blocks from my inventory just to like fix up some mistakes that I made. So I was planning on using buttons to activate the iron doors, but when I tested it, I realized that it didn't work, so I just gave up and I had iron doors that would always be closed. Now I'm completely done with the tower and I move on building the road next to the tower. So I was gonna use stone to make part of the road, but when I went into my inventory to get it, I couldn't grab it and put it in my hotbar. And I was messing around with it. I tried logging in and out of the game, but eventually I figured it out. Now that that issue is out of the way, I also use white wool and bricks to make the road as well. I use white wool to make the little lines in between the road, the divider, and I use the bricks to make the sidewalk. Here I begin clearing out some ground for the road work. I think I mentioned this before, but it's just so satisfying watching myself clear out the ground with such efficiency. Okay, now that I finally cleared out the ground, I begin adding in the bricks and the stone and everything else to create the road. I use stone to create the pavement of the road, and I use the white wool like I mentioned before to create the dividers in between the road. Well, I'm almost done with building this build, and I'm planning to make a series on this just dedicated to building a city. If you guys enjoyed this video and want to see more, subscribe and like this video to support the channel.